little bit more, especially this actuator issue, why it's so important, what they do?
Certainly. The actuators, it's a fancy name for motor in a gearbox. So they're actually a very complicated device. We've flown them, actually all of our landers have had robotic actuators of some sort. They basically do almost everything that the rover has to do. They drive the wheels, they stop the wheels. They're the elbow and shoulder and wrist joints for the robotic arm. So when you see a robotic arm going out and moving around, an actuator, which is a combination of a motor and a gearbox, are driving those. So the drills and the sample handling devices, all the small motors and things, there's multiple sizes of these. And those, that's why they're absolutely crucial to the success of this mission. If we get to the ground, we can't move, we can't put the arm out, and we can't sample. We basically have, a metric ton of junk on the surface. So actuators are absolutely crucial to any landed mission. The problems partially are related to the fact that these are very complicated. Some of the issues has been throughput, just the ability to manufacture these at the pace we need to manufacture them. Got a couple of numbers here to make sure I had them. There are 31 flight in the rover. There are 31 different actuators in there. So we're building 60 flight actuators and 45 engineering model actuators. That's a significant number of these highly complex mechanical devices to build. We've had issues that have related to workmanship, where we've had bearings that may not have been put in exactly correctly. We've had issues with cold encoders, which tell us where the gearbox is as it turns, and some sensitivity electronically to those. Our recent issue, and this is the one that Mike alluded to, that we actually don't really understand the cause yet, is actually the braking mechanism, and the fact that we've got a drag torque problem and a brake release problem, and we don't understand why we're having this high torque issue with these actuators. So the criticality of the actuators, the number of the actuators that we have to have, and the fact that we have to life test these things before we fly them and have confidence in them, that kind of wraps the actuator issue up.
Let me add two pieces of information. One, these actuators are much more massive or complicated than what we had on MER, because this is a rover which is almost 8 times bigger. Another one, just to give you a feel, some of these actuator motors have 500 piece parts. Yeah. So this is not like just 2 pieces you put together. These are fairly, very sophisticated and technically challenging kind of actuators.
Okay, we've got.
Thank you.
Okay, Mark, follow up. I'm sorry.
On the launch windows, I'm wondering if you could just review what the 09 launch window was, kind of the open and close, and do the same thing for what you're looking at for 2011. Thank you.
Sure, I'll take that. The 2009 launch window was set originally as the 15th of September to, I believe it was the 4th of October, I believe it was. In October, the project requested some additional schedule margin, so we worked with our launch vehicle providers in Space Ops and have opened the window to 8 October to the 28th of October, I believe it was. The window in 2011 is actually October through December. Exactly where in that window we want to be has yet to be determined. It's also based on landing site, what latitude we're going to go to, and so that'll help us pick what day we want to go. So when you want to get there is when you want to launch. So we're going to have to back that up. My guess is it's probably in the late October to maybe early November timeframe, but we'll find out exactly after after the project does their work for navigation.
Okay, let's go back to headquarters right in here, please.
Thanks, Eric Hand with Nature. I have a two-part question with a quick first part for Administrator Griffin. Did you consider canceling MSL?
No, I didn't, not at all. Before I would cancel something, first of all, I'd have to believe that the project was going badly in a technical sense. I mean, as a very first step. And, it's not. It's going great. I know and have personally worked with, in my own past, the folks who are doing it, and there are no better folks in the world. When you're doing things that have never been done before, you are likely to encounter difficulties, and you know, they're almost always unforeseen, because if you had foreseen them, you would have taken care of it earlier. But the fact that we're having some troubles, particularly with these motors, but just a backlog of unresolved work, is not a surprise, but also not a cause for cancellation. I mean, well, I need to continue for just a little bit. You know, if we canceled everything on those grounds, we'd have never finished Hubble. I worked on Hubble. I always say I'm proud to say that I've worked on Hubble, and I am. But, I mean, we didn't come within a factor of 2. 300% of and does anybody today out there in the science community, or those who watch the science community, regret building Hubble? We didn't come within a factor of 2 on COBE, Nobel Prize winning science. You know, I'm hard put to think of any mission we ever do that unless you're just building, you know, cookie cutter copies, and nobody's interested in that. We know how to control cost. Just build more of what you built the last time, but nobody cares. So some of the things NASA has done, of which we in the nation and indeed the world are the most proud, are things where we had far more troubles than we're having on Mars Science Lab, to be very honest with you. So no, I didn't give any thought to canceling the mission.
My follow-up, I guess for you or Dr. Weiler, you could argue that something like Hubble supports a much broader set of science goals and a much broader scientific community. MSL so it goes to one landing site and supports a very specific science community. So as the consequences, as this $400 million spreads first through the Mars program, then through planetary sciences, and probably even into the Science Mission Directorate, how do you respond to the anger and frustration of the broader science community that is going to see a once diverse program being reduced to a single mission with money going to a single place at JPL?
I'm going to start out with the answer to that by saying, when you talk about the goals of something like Hubble being broader and more diverse, that's, I guess, only if you don't think that the question of biological life on other planets is a very significant question. I'll remind you again, you know, the fundamental purpose of Mars Science Lab is to explore the possibilities for microbial life and conditions for microbial life. Did they ever exist on Mars, or do they exist now? The potential for the existence of life in places other than the Earth is one of the fundamental questions of our age, and if that doesn't qualify as being sufficiently broad and diverse, sorry. Now, Ed?
That's, as usual, very hard to follow, but let me take the other side of your coin. A lot of people come to Washington and think they know all the answers. I'm not one of them. I've only been here 31 years. I routinely go to the community. I will go to the community that will be affected. I will ask them, here are the options. How much do you all really want the goals of the Mars program, including MSL? This is what it'll take. Option 1, delay this favorite mission of a few people. Option 2, delay this one. Or cancel it. I personally don't think the planetary community, when they have to face each other together in a room, not writing on some, you know, anonymous letter somewhere, if they have to face each other and make that decision, I will bet you they will choose option A, B, or C, and that won't be cancellation. I may be wrong. But let me clear up one thing, too, just because it's a lot of math has been thrown around. It's $400 million in 10 and 11 to complete the program. But we're also not spending the $200 million we would have had to spend to get to launch. So you can do your own math on that, whether it's 400, additional 200, et cetera. But if we had gotten to launch, to get to launch, if Mike and I had made the decision next January to go forward to 2009, we would have had to find $200 extra million. We will not do that now. That's the good news. The bad news is we have to find 400, but it's over fiscal 10 and fiscal 11. So I just want to make that clear, because there's been a lot of numbers thrown around.
Can I make a comment here? Yeah, I hate to correct my boss in public, but the $400 million actually.
We're used to that.
Okay, the $400 million actually is from 2010 through 2014. Okay, it's over a 5-year period. It's finishing the development and adding operations in years that operations didn't exist. Okay, so it's actually, if you look at fiscal,